Have you ever felt that without realizing it, the words you use at home can affect your life and those around you? Have you wondered if what you say could be attracting negative energies or blocking good luck? In this video, we will explore 7 phrases that, according to Buddhist teachings, you should never say in your home. These words, although they may seem harmless, have the power to create an atmosphere of tension, frustration, and even ruin. Join us on this journey of self-awareness and transformation, where you will learn how your words can change the energy of your home and open you up to new blessings. Don't let a simple phrase ruin your peace and prosperity. Discover how to transform your life through the power of your words. Phrase 1, I'm fed up. Let's begin with the phrase, I'm fed up. How often have we said this without truly considering the impact? I'm fed up with work, with this situation, with you. These may seem like simple, harmless words, but they carry an invisible weight. Each time we say them, we invite a shadow into our minds, one that takes up space and blocks the possibility of peace or resolution. I once met a man named Daisuke. He was a good person, but life seemed to be against him. He lived in constant frustration, overwhelmed by work, frequent arguments at home, and always uttering the same phrase, I'm fed up with everything. One day, after a particularly intense argument with his wife, Daisuke stormed out of his house. He walked until he arrived at a small temple where I was sweeping dry leaves in the garden. He sat there in silence for a while, staring at the ground before finally speaking. Master, I can't take it anymore. I'm fed up with my life. I looked at him calmly and said, What's really bothering you, Daisuke? Is it your work, your family, or the words you're using to describe your life? Daisuke looked at me, confused. I continued, Every time you say, I'm fed up, you're closing all the doors. You defeat yourself, thinking there's no way out. But have you ever tried simply stopping and breathing? I suggested we take a moment of silence. When everything feels overwhelming, don't say, I'm fed up. Instead, try saying, I'll take a moment to breathe. And you know what happened? Daisuke started practicing this. Whenever work or arguments overwhelmed him, instead of exploding, he just took a breath. Over time, the arguments at home became less frequent, and even the biggest problems started to feel lighter. That's the power of words. If we say, I'm fed up, we get trapped in frustration. But if we just breathe, we open the door to something new. We may not be able to change what's happening around us, but we can always change how we respond to it. Remember, my friend, you're not alone in your struggles. The next time you feel like you can't take it anymore, don't say, I'm fed up. Breathe, give yourself that moment, and watch the storm pass. The words you choose are the seeds of your day. If you plant frustration, you'll reap more of the same. But if you plant patience, your life will bloom, step by step. Phrase 2, I don't have enough. Now let's talk about something many of us unknowingly repeat throughout our lives. I don't have enough. It might be money. I don't have enough to pay the bills. It might be time. I don't have enough time for my family. Or even love, I'm not enough for others. Do you notice how common this phrase is? But behind it lies a hidden danger. Every time we say it, we reinforce the belief that the universe is limited. We create an invisible prison where nothing we have is ever enough, and nothing that comes seems to reach us. The mind is like a garden. The words we speak are the seeds. If we repeat, I don't have enough, we are cultivating scarcity. And, as a good gardener knows, what you plant is what you harvest. Many years ago, in a small town surrounded by mountains, there lived a woman named Aiko. Her life was simple. She ran a small tea shop where she sold whatever she could grow or acquire each day. Every day was a struggle to keep the business afloat. When asked how things were going, she always replied the same way, I don't have enough. I can hardly make ends meet. That phrase followed her everywhere, like her shadow. She had become so accustomed to the feeling of scarcity that she began to see it as an absolute truth. No matter what she earned or had, she always felt something was missing. Her heart was filled with worry, and every time she opened her shop in the morning, she carried that burden in her chest. One cold winter morning, a travelling monk arrived in the village. He wore a simple robe and carried a bowl for alms. He walked calmly, stopping at each market shop. When he reached Aiko's store, she looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and sadness. "I'd love to give you something, but I don't have enough," she told him, her eyes filled with shame. The monk smiled and asked, "Are you sure you have nothing to offer?" Aiko felt uncomfortable, but she searched her shop and found a small bag with the last tea leaves she had. She hesitated for a moment, thinking she should save them for selling, but finally decided to give them to the monk. "Sometimes," said the monk as he received the tea, "what you give, even if little, multiplies, not because you give it, but because you change what's inside you." With a peaceful smile, he continued on his way. That afternoon, something changed in Aiko's heart. For the first time, she didn't feel like she had lost everything. By giving away those tea leaves, she felt she had opened a door that had always been closed. The next day, an unexpected customer walked into her shop, a merchant from another city who was looking for tea for an important event. Despite having so little, Aiko offered him the best tea she could prepare. The merchant was so pleased that he began recommending her shop to others, and slowly her business began to grow. Aiko no longer saw her life through the lens of scarcity. Instead of repeating, "I don't have enough," she began to say, "I'm on my way to getting what I need." That simple phrase changed everything. She no longer lived in fear, but with confidence that even if she didn't have everything at the present moment, she was on the right path. This is how energy works. When you say, "I don't have enough," you close the door to the natural flow of abundance. But when you say, "I'm on my way," you open space for opportunities to come to you. It's not always immediate, but the universe always responds to the intention you place in each word. Remember, each day is an opportunity to choose how to speak to life. If you sow scarcity, you'll reap lack. But if you sow hope, the path will open before you, step by step. The next time you feel something is missing, don't say, "I don't have enough." Take a deep breath, let go of worry, and say confidently, "I'm on my way to getting what I need." Because what matters is not what you have now, but the direction in which you're walking. Phrase 3, "It never works out for me." Surely you've said this more than once, right? Maybe after a project that didn't turn out as you expected, or when you tried to change a habit and failed. It's easy to let discouragement take over after setbacks, but every time you repeat, "It never works out for me," you're etching that belief into the deepest part of your mind. And what we believe, we create. Life is a reflection of our thoughts. If we believe we will never be able to accomplish something, we're closing doors before the path even begins to open. Let me tell you the story of Yuto, a young craftsman who lived in a village at the foot of the mountains. Since he was a child, he dreamed of becoming a potter and creating beautiful vases like his grandfather, a renowned master, used to make. With excitement and determination, Yuto began working on his first project, a small clay cup. But no matter how hard he tried, the shape never came out the way he wanted. On the first attempt, the cup broke in his hands. On the second, the surface was uneven. And on the third, he simply gave up. "It never works out for me," Yuto sighed, looking at his hands covered in clay. At that moment, he felt he would never live up to his grandfather's legacy, and every time he tried and failed, that thought grew stronger. "I'll never be able to do it." That's when he decided to give up on his dream. One day, his grandfather, who had been watching from a distance, invited him to take a walk by the river. As they walked, the old man picked up a smooth stone and showed it to Yuto. "Do you see this stone? It wasn't always this smooth," he said. "The water has struck it for years over and over until it became this perfect shape." "But I don't have years to learn," Yuto replied sadly. The grandfather smiled and said, "It's not about time. It's about the attitude with which you face each attempt. Every time something doesn't work out, you are learning how to do it better. What matters is not avoiding failure, but continuing to try. That day, Yuto decided to return to his workshop. He said to himself, "It didn't work out this time, but I'm learning to do it better." Every day he practiced with this new attitude in his heart. At first he continued failing, but he no longer despaired. Instead of giving up, he saw each mistake as a lesson. "Today I learned how to better shape the base," he would say with joy. Although the cup was still not perfect, over time his hands gained skills he had never imagined. One day, without even realizing it, he created a vase so beautiful that his grandfather looked at him with pride and said, "You are a true craftsman, Yuto. Not because you don't fail, but because you've learned that every mistake is part of the path." Yuto's story teaches us something profound. It doesn't matter how many times we stumble or fail. What truly matters is how we respond to those setbacks. If we say, "It never works out for me," we are closing the path. But if we say, "I'm learning to do it better," every mistake becomes a step toward mastery. Remember this: the road to any goal is full of obstacles. No one is born knowing, and we're all here to learn. What makes the difference is the way you talk to yourself when things don't go as expected. Don't be your worst critic, be your best ally. So the next time a project doesn't go as you hoped, don't say, "It never works out for me." Take a deep breath and say, "I'm learning to do it better." With that small but powerful phrase, you'll be turning every fall into an opportunity to rise stronger. Remember, every mistake is a lesson in disguise. Success comes with every sincere attempt. You just need patience and the certainty that you're learning to do it better step by step. Phrase 4, this is impossible. How many times have you stopped in front of a challenge and felt like it was too big? Maybe a project that seems unreachable, a goal that overwhelms you, or a change you think you'll never be able to achieve. This is impossible, you say, as if those words close the doors of hope. But in reality, it's not the circumstances that close, it's your mind. Every time you declare something is impossible, you lock the gate to opportunities without realizing it. You deny yourself the possibility of seeking new solutions and discovering skills you may not have known you had. Let me tell you the story of Tao, a farmer who lived in a small village surrounded by mountains. One particularly harsh winter, an avalanche of stones blocked the paths, preventing the villagers from accessing the only market where they sold their crops. Without the ability to sell, everyone was convinced the season would be a disaster. Tao heard others repeat over and over, "It's impossible to move those rocks." But something in his heart told him he had to try. While the others lamented, Tao grabbed a shovel and went to the site of the avalanche. The mountain of stones was huge, a solid wall blocking the path completely. At first glance, it seemed impossible to cross. The other villagers, seeing him working alone, just laughed. "You'll never move that," they said. But Tao, instead of getting discouraged, took a deep breath and said to himself, "I'll find a way." At first it seemed like he wasn't making any progress. Every stone he removed was replaced by an even larger one that kept blocking the way. For days Tao returned to the same spot, removing one rock after another. There were moments when the cold and exhaustion made him doubt, but he always reminded himself, "No matter how long it takes, I'll find a way." Slowly his work began to create a small path. It was narrow at first, but enough to pass through, and one day, without realizing it, the wall of stones was no longer there. The story of Tao teaches us a simple yet powerful truth. Many times what seems impossible is not. It just requires time, patience, and the willingness to find a different way to approach the problem. The real challenge is not the task itself, but the attitude with which we face obstacles. By declaring, "This is impossible," we close doors before the time is right. But if we say, "I'll find a way," we allow the universe and our own creativity to surprise us. In life, we face challenges constantly, from small daily complications to large obstacles that seem unbreakable. A stalled work project, a relationship that seems unsolvable, or even simply trying to change a habit that limits us. Everything seems impossible until we find a way. So the next time an obstacle makes you feel like there's no way out, stop for a moment. Instead of declaring it's impossible, change your words and say, I'll find a way. You don't need to know how at that instant. What's important is to keep the possibility open. With each small attempt, you'll create a path where you couldn't see one before. Remember, most of the great and beautiful things in life were born from someone who refused to believe in the impossible. So take a breath, remove one stone at a time, and trust that the path will appear before you. There is always a way, you just have to be willing to find it. Phrase 5, I'm not lucky. It's easy to fall into this statement when things seem to be going against us. A project that fails, a relationship that doesn't thrive, or the feeling that all efforts end in vain. But what many don't see is that when we say, I'm not lucky, we are closing the door to future possibilities. We connect with a sense of resignation, as if there's nothing more to do. When you tell yourself that you're not lucky, you reinforce a pattern of misfortune in your mind. This belief becomes a kind of filter, making positive moments, even small ones, go unnoticed because your attention is focused on difficulties, and what you feed with your mind grows. It's like walking through a beautiful field but only noticing the stones in the path, ignoring the flowers and trees around it. Luck is not always what it seems. Sometimes what we call bad luck is simply a detour to something better, even if we can't see it in the moment. Many years ago in a remote village there lived a humble farmer who had a single horse to work the land. One day the horse escaped into the mountains, leaving the farmer without his main tool for work. The neighbours, pitying him, exclaimed, "What bad luck!" But the farmer, with a serene smile, replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" Soon after, the farmer's son tried to catch one of the wild horses, but he fell and broke his leg. The neighbours, worried, said, "What bad luck?" And once again the farmer replied, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" Days later, the army passed through the village, recruiting all young men for the war. But since the farmer's son was injured, they didn't take him. The neighbours, amazed, said, "What good luck?" And as always, the farmer responded, "Good luck, bad luck, who knows?" This story shows us that what seems like bad luck at the moment may be the precursor to a great blessing, and what seems like good luck sometimes brings hidden challenges. Life is a constant flow of events, and nothing is permanent or definitive. Everything is always changing. When we say, "I'm not lucky," we trap our minds in a state of misfortune. But if instead we accept that everything comes in its own time, we open ourselves to the possibility that even obstacles have a purpose. Every event, every fall, every detour is part of a bigger path that we sometimes can't see. Maybe you haven't yet found what you're looking for, but that doesn't mean it won't come. It just means it's not the right time yet. Life has its own rhythm, and what is meant for you will come, no matter the setbacks you face. The next time you feel the temptation to say, "I'm not lucky," try this alternative. Everything comes in its own time. These words do not deny your difficulties, but remind you that not everything you want happens instantly. They invite you to trust the process and maintain hope, even when things don't go as you expected. Every day is an opportunity to learn something new, and every setback is part of the puzzle that will eventually be revealed. Patience is a form of wisdom, because it allows you to walk with the certainty that everything has its time. So don't let a rough patch define who you are. Remember, luck is nothing more than the way we interpret events. Trust that everything will come in its own time, and you'll see how even the tough days can turn into valuable lessons. Phrase 6, what a bad day. Have you ever experienced this? You start the morning off on the wrong foot, you wake up late, forget something important, or run into an unexpected problem. Then, as if a dark cloud has settled over your head, you declare, "What a bad day." And with those words, something fundamental happens. It's like you're setting the tone for the hours ahead, opening the door to more frustrations and discomfort. Words are seeds. When you say, "What a bad day," you're planting a seed of negativity in your mind, and without realizing it, every small setback that happens after that waters it. A missed call, a traffic jam, a misunderstanding. Everything seems to confirm that the day has no hope. But the real problem isn't in the events themselves, but in the way we label them. When you decide that the day is bad, you unconsciously start searching for more reasons to prove you were right. Everything good, small, or positive goes unnoticed because your mind is already busy validating the negativity. Let me tell you a story. In a remote monastery lived a young monk named Lian, who was known for his lack of patience. One day, he was assigned the task of meditating outdoors by the river. As he settled in, a strong gust of wind began to blow, scattering leaves and dust everywhere. Lian frowned and muttered, "What a bad day." Annoyed by the wind, Lian tried to continue meditating, but the wind wouldn't let up. He stood up angrily, thinking the day was ruined, and decided to return to the temple. On his way, he tripped and fell into the mud. Of course, he thought, this is the worst day. As he walked angrily, he crossed paths with the monastery's master, who watched him with a serene smile. "What's happening?" asked the master. The young monk told him about all the setbacks of the day, the wind, the fall, and his frustration. After listening, the master replied, "Liang, the wind blows every day, sometimes with force, other times barely noticeable. The problem is not the wind or the fall, but the way you choose to see them. Today you chose to see the problems and forgot the blessings. You didn't see how the wind was clearing the dry leaves from the path, nor how your fall forced you to stop and observe the beautiful landscape around you. Liang, remember, no day is bad in itself. It is our mind that decides if it is." This story teaches us that often it is not what happens to us that determines how we feel, but the story we tell ourselves about it. When we declare that we are having a bad day, we give up the possibility of seeing something good in it. We block gratitude and let frustration guide us. But what if, instead of saying "what a bad day," we stop for a moment and change our perspective? Maybe things didn't go as we expected, but every day has something to teach us. Even the difficult moments contain seeds of learning. It's not necessary to ignore the setbacks, but neither should we let them pull us down. The next time a day feels complicated, instead of sentencing it with negativity, try saying, "Tomorrow will be a better day." These words don't deny what happened, but they open you to the possibility that the future will bring new opportunities. They free you from the weight of the present moment and remind you that everything, even the bad moments, passes. When you say, "Tomorrow will be a better day," you're sending a message to the universe: I'm willing to move forward no matter how difficult today was. And that willingness is powerful. Each dawn is a new opportunity to start fresh, with a clear mind and an open heart. Remember, my friend, no day is entirely bad or good. It all depends on how we choose to face it. If we let setbacks dominate us, we'll miss the small miracles happening around us. But if we keep hope, each day can be another step toward a fuller, more mindful life. So when the wind blows strong, when things don't go as expected, just say, "Tomorrow will be a better day." Trust that every day is an opportunity to grow, and you'll see how even the difficult days turn into valuable lessons. Phrase 7, I'm good for nothing. This phrase is like a shadow that settles over the mind, darkening everything it touches. It's easy for it to appear in moments of frustration or exhaustion when things don't go as expected. But what many don't realize is that every time we say or think, "I'm good for nothing," we are planting a dangerous seed within ourselves. A seed that, if allowed to grow, can destroy our self-esteem and distance us from the people we love most. When these words become part of our language, they begin to shape how we see ourselves. They make us believe we are inadequate, that we are incapable, and slowly disconnect us from our own essence. The most dangerous part is that this energy also affects those around us. If a parent constantly says, "I'm good for nothing," that energy permeates the home and touches the children. They begin to see their parents through that same lens of inadequacy. Once upon a time, a young man lived in a small village nestled in the mountains. He felt like nothing he did ever went right. Every time he tried to learn a new skill or trade, he failed. When his friends mocked him, he would tell himself, "I'm good for nothing." Slowly he began to withdraw from the world around him, and one day he decided to climb to the peak of the mountain, far from everyone. At the top, he discovered an old, moss-covered stone statue. In a moment of frustration, he sat beside it and said, "You're good for nothing, just like me." For years, the young man continued to visit the statue, repeating the same words. But one day, exhausted by his own pain, he took an old chisel and began to clean the stone, though he wasn't sure why. Day after day, he scraped away the moss and polished the surface. Slowly, he began to uncover a magnificent sculpture, an ancient Buddha, perfectly carved. Astonished, he realized that the statue had always been beautiful. It just needed care to reveal its true shine. He understood then that he too was like that statue. Maybe he had lost his shine, but that didn't mean he was worthless. He just needed time and patience to reveal his true self. This story teaches us that even in our darkest moments, there is something precious inside us. We each carry a unique essence, even if it is sometimes hidden beneath the moss of failure and frustration. Saying "I'm good for nothing" is like giving up before we've even started polishing our inner statue. Life isn't about being perfect from the start. It's about learning, growing, and refining ourselves. The next time you feel like nothing is going right and you're tempted to say, "I'm good for nothing," remember this story. Try something different. Say out loud, even if you don't fully believe it yet, "I'm doing the best I can." These words are healing. They don't demand perfection, just that you acknowledge your best effort, and that's enough for now. You don't need to have all the answers or succeed at everything you try. What matters is that you keep moving forward, even when the path is tough. And remember, just like the statue beneath the moss, you too have a light waiting to be revealed. Don't give up before you see it. No one in this life is condemned to be useless. We are all in the process of discovering our own beauty and purpose. All it takes is time and patience. So the next time you face a setback, instead of saying, "I'm good for nothing," remind yourself that you are doing the best you can, and that is more than enough. Every word we speak carries weight, a vibration that affects both the world around us and ourselves. By choosing our words carefully, we are opening the door to a life filled with light and positive energy. Change begins with small things. When we become more mindful of the language we use, especially in our homes, we can transform our reality. Words are like seeds. If we plant love, gratitude, and hope, we will watch a vibrant garden bloom in our hearts and homes. I encourage you to take a moment each day to reflect on your words. Observe how they impact not just those around you, but yourself. Ask yourself, am I choosing words that nourish or words that harm? Remember, in the simplicity of saying thank you or "I'm on the right path," there lies immense power. Let's practice this awareness in our daily interactions. You'll see how the environment around you transforms, filled with love and positivity. If this video has been helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more insights and teachings that can change your life. Share this video with friends and loved ones. Until next time, dear friends.